Welcome to the FB podcast, where we dissect the hottest stories in world football. Can you believe it? A name that once symbolized hope of explosive moments at Old Trafford is on its way out of Manchester United after just one promising season. Yes, I'm talking about Alejandro Garnacho, a shocking decision, a sad end for a prodigy who seemed to be the future of the Red Devils. But why? What really happened behind the Carrington doors? Join me in the analysis to find out the cold truth behind this deal, because this is not just a simple transfer, but also a sign of a new era at Old Trafford. Garnacho, this name really gives us a picture with two extremely contrasting colors during his time at Manchester United. He is a young player, yes, still has a lot to learn, but it is rare for someone to make fans crazy with great goals like the bicycle kick against Everton, nominated for the Puskas Award, and make us regret such regrettable handling. In the 2023-2024 season, Garnacho scored 11 goals and had 5 assists. The sprints down the right wing, the signature curling shots, he really evokes the image of Marcus Rashford in his prime. But you know times change, and Ruben Amorim is not a person who lives by individual highlights. He comes from a colder football where individual moments are just a supplement to discipline to a tight tactical structure. In Amorim's 3-4-3 system, the wings are no longer a place for solo play, but part of a coordinated pressing unit where players have to run off the ball at the right pace, drop back at the right time, and switch positions at the right time. And this is the key point. Garnacho, with his wild instincts and tendency to escape structure, has become an out-of-place piece. Amorim has made it clear that freedom is no longer a priority. There is only room for those who are willing to sacrifice for the system, and that unfortunately is not Garnacho. No one knows exactly what moment was the breaking point, but if you had to pick a symbolic image, it would be Garnacho sitting dejectedly on the sidelines in the Europa League final. United were in a deadlock. Fans were waiting for a player like him to make a difference, but Ruben Amorim did not. He waited until the 71st minute when everything was out of control to bring Garnacho on almost as a show of form rather than tactical belief. Immediately after the match, Garnacho posted a story with an ambiguous expression, maybe disappointment, maybe challenge, but for Ruben Amorim, it was the final message. Just a few days later, Garnacho was left off the squad for the final game of the season against Aston Villa, and in a closed-door meeting with the board and members of the squad, Amorim declared bluntly, "If you want to play football, find a new club." There was no beating around the bush, no room for reconciliation. In fact, the story had been brewing for weeks. According to insiders, Garnacho was one of the players who reacted most negatively to the video analysis session, which Amorim saw as central to his tactical thinking. He once interrupted a meeting by asking, "Why do you have to repeat this?" and was later pinned down by the coaching staff for his disdain for the training plan. In training, he often failed to stick to pressing drills, leaving gaps between himself and his fullbacks, creating spaces that Amorim was extremely allergic to. A dressing room source also revealed that Garnacho had complained to his teammates, "I am an explosive player, not a scheme-following machine." That statement, while true to his personality, was completely at odds with Amorim's philosophy of putting the team first. And from there, everything fell apart. Garnacho no longer gets the nod from the coaching staff, and the senior players in the squad lose patience when his negative attitude affects the team spirit. Ruben Amorim is not the type of coach to tolerate an ego that won't grow, and Garnacho is not one to be humble. It is important to stress that this was no longer a one-sided affair from Amorim. This was a three-way decision: the coach, the board, and the system that was being reshaped at Manchester United. When Ruben Amorim told Garnacho during the summer tour of Southeast Asia that he would be better off praying for a new club, it was not just a harsh remark, it was the final confirmation of a plan that had already been laid out. On the pitch, Garnacho was given his chance in a seemingly easy friendly against Johor Darul Tazim, but what people saw was a disjointed player, no pressing, no marking, no integration. In just 37 minutes on the pitch, Garnacho was completely invisible against an opponent of far inferior quality. For Amorim, it was the final proof he did not fit the model he was building. On the board side, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Ineos team have a clean slate policy, removing the remnants of previous coaches, focusing on building a young but tactically minded team. Garnacho, despite his young age, represents the type of free-flowing wild player that is being eliminated in this period of reform. The problem is not technique or potential. The problem is that he refuses to change to survive in a system. Amorim wants players who can sacrifice to press, know how to run to keep the team's distance, and are willing to play without the spotlight. The pair chosen to replace him Maybe Matheus Cunha and Brian Mbeumo, both of whom were in the top 10 Premier League players for the most pressing participation last season. They are not flashy, but they fit the bill, and most importantly, they listen. The 45.50 Mr. raised from selling Garnacho will almost certainly be reinvested in these two contracts. It was part of Ratcliffe's strategy to restructure cash flow and tactical structure, not to keep anyone just because of reputation or past expectations. United chose to build a disciplined, synchronized squad, not dependent on random moments. Garnacho loves Manchester United. There's no doubt about that. From his explosive moments at Old Trafford to his Cristiano Ronaldo-like celebrations, his affection for the club is palpable. But love isn't enough to keep a player, especially when the system is working against his nature. Ruben Amorim doesn't build a team around an impulsive individual with improvisational moves. He needs calculation, discipline, and a machine that works together. Garnacho, for all his talent, has never been the right piece in that puzzle. More importantly, Garnacho himself is far from complete. He's still a young player with explosive dribbling ability, but lacking in tactical direction, poor at team play, and almost harmless when locked in space. At a club like United, which is still trying to find its identity, no one can be pampered to develop on their own. When the question is either adapt or leave, breaking up turns out to be the gentlest and most reasonable option for both parties. So what is the future for our prodigy? Currently, there are many teams ready to welcome Garnacho. Napoli have made the first official offer with the ambition of turning him into a new Lozano or a new Kvaratskhelia on the left wing. Chelsea and Aston Villa have also entered the fray, but the most notable is probably Leverkusen, where Erik ten Hag is rebuilding his career in the Bundesliga. No one knows Garnacho better than ten Hag, and if he wants to rebuild the old trust, that could be the starting point. Serie A is also considered a more suitable place with more playing space, less pressure than the Premier League, and more technical, something Garnacho needs to hone his unfinished skill. However, at the same time, it could be a path leading him into darkness if he does not mature. We have seen teenage talents from Bojan to Pato to Marco Marin fail not because they lacked quality, but because they failed to adapt. Garnacho is at that crossroads, and this time there is no one at Old Trafford to hold the door open for him. The decision to part ways with Garnacho was a very cold move, but sometimes such cuts are necessary so that both parties do not waste each other's time any longer. Manchester United, in the process of rebuilding, cannot keep a talent just because of the highlight goals or the expectations of the fan. As for Garnacho, at the age of 21, he still has his whole career ahead of him to learn how to adapt, to stumble, and mature. Maybe in a few years he will look back and be grateful for that moment of being sent away, because it was the necessary push to force him to grow up. For MU, selling Garnacho at this time is not only tactically reasonable, but also a profitable deal. The one who leaves is not complete. The one who stays is not ready to forgive, so it is best to stop. What do you think about this decision of Manchester United? Will Garnacho find his glory again at his new destination, or will he be forgotten if he does not change? And leave a comment below, share your opinion like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the FB podcast channel so you don't miss other in-depth analyses. See you in the next episode.